I would like to welcome back to the show Pete Cochran with Interactive Resources. Pete, welcome back to River City Live. We spoke about a month and a half ago, and you had really a big campaign to fill, about 300 jobs. So I want to touch base on that, but can you start out with an overview of your company?
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me again. So I'm Pete Cochran. I am a partner of Interactive Resources. We are a staffing firm located here in Jacksonville. We have operations in Nashville, Tennessee, as well as Austin, Texas, Denver, Colorado, and Orange County, California. And giving you an update on those 300 jobs, we are still working through that progress right now. We do have some even more opportunities that we're looking to fill here in Jacksonville and even Orlando. So things are progressing fairly nicely, but definitely kind of look at irtalent.com and look at our careers for sure with what we've got going on.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great resource. And right now, the unemployment rate, it's a little better, but it's still pretty challenging for a lot of people out there. And when you talk about the resources available, there's so many online. One of them, it's called IR Session. What exactly is that?
Yeah, so IR Sessions is something that we started in April. We were big into meetups and big into user groups and trying to give back to the community. So we started something, as we all know, going virtual. We started IR Sessions to be able to include speakers from around the country that could actually talk about a variety of topics. We've done everything from technology to diversity and inclusion to entering the workforce. And we do them every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the next one that I'm really, really excited about, this is a very good friend of mine from Nashville, Tennessee, Gaines. I don't want to take his thunder away from him. I want him to be able to introduce himself. But yeah, the next one is next Wednesday at 1 p.m. It's an awesome topic that I think is very, very relevant right now.
Perfect. And you mentioned Gaines, so I think now's the moment. Gaines, welcome to River City Live. So you'll be talking at the next session. So tell me a little bit about your background.
Thanks, appreciate it. And I'm always excited about Pete and IR's passion for the tech community and how they can support these opportunities to get engaged. I've found that it was an unexpected topic, but when I was a child, I was diagnosed with borderline ADHD, but since I wasn't disruptive in class or causing problems, my parents didn't choose to medicate me, and I never really gave it much thought from that point on. But over the years, I developed these coping mechanisms to help avoid distractions and to stay focused and complete objectives. And I guess like other people with that same sort of challenge, it just became part of who I was. And it wasn't until I became a manager for software development teams that I realized how useful these processes and techniques and this mentality is towards helping others be successful in their roles. So that got me thinking about how I could share this with others. I began researching the topic and realized that there's a lot of both benefits to the traits and the mindset that come with a condition like ADHD, and a lot of useful lessons for even people who don't have that type of brain. So I look forward to sharing with the group some steps to harness their own brain, to analyze themselves, develop strategies and structures to help them be successful in the things they want to do.
Yeah, that sounds fascinating. The other thing that's interesting is it was almost like a self-diagnosis of yourself, and you actually came up with some tips and tricks that helped you out, correct?
I think it happened organically. Like I said, when I was little, there was a time when I was diagnosed just to eliminate the need for medication, but it was never something that I sought out a diagnosis for or that I had to address. We figure out ways to make things work and to be successful with the sort of tendencies and the mindset that you have. And for me, it was something that I see people who don't have the ADHD type of brain learning these things later in life because they're needed to help improve processes in their organization or to help give people guardrails to make sure they're successful in what they do. And I just realized that it came to me a little bit earlier because I needed those for myself.
I think one thing that's interesting, obviously, if you have some of the signs and symptoms of ADHD, obviously it's a great session. But also, if you're a manager, I think it's equally as important to understand how the employees are really functioning and how you can help them out as well.
Absolutely. One of the other talks that I've started to give, I'm going to be giving at the Greater Nashville IT Summit, is from an employer perspective on how to harness these superpowers really for your organization, how to create an environment that's conducive to them.
Yeah, that's great. And let me just ask you this. So along the way of your career, how have you changed around? So really managing your ADHD, what have you done differently to focus?
Well, definitely reliance on things like calendars and lists. Most of my career has been as a consultant, so a lot of them were short-term engagements, which capitalized really well on my hyper-focus on something I'm very interested in and finding a solution to a problem. But then also sometimes the difficulty I have focusing on things that aren't engaging my interest or my passions as much, because by the time I would wrap up one project, there'd be something new and exciting to delve into. So I think part of that just, it happened, and in hindsight, I can recognize that, but it wasn't a plan along the way.
And I'm glad you mentioned the strength of ADHD, because when it is time to be hyper focused and you're interested in it, I would imagine off the charts with productivity, but it's just finding that balance. And I feel like a lot of people out there can relate to that. I know even with some of my sons, for example, if they like the subject, lights out, they're gonna do amazing. If they don't like the subject, I can't get them to focus. So some of these things are good really for everybody to learn, correct?
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, even if you don't have this diagnosis or all of the tendencies that go along with a certain type of brain, we still find people who, they love working at night because there are fewer distractions. They can stay focused on what they're interested in. So they still, even though they might not have the full array of challenges, they still find ways to make their environment more conducive to being productive and getting the things done that they want to achieve.
Absolutely. Well, Gaines, thank you so much for sharing your story and for leading the session that's coming up. One more time, can you remind me of the date and the website for people to get engaged with that?
Yep, it is Wednesday, September 9th at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
And the website, Pete?
It is irtalent.com, and you can find IR sessions on meetup.com, and you can also on our website, top right-hand corner, IR sessions are right there.
Perfect. Well, thank you
Awesome.
for all of your time and information. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Great seeing everybody.